Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at NECA's SPYRO the Dragon figure, which is something that was kind of interesting to me because it's the kind of thing that's relatively difficult to pull off. And NECA likes to do that kind of stuff, so I was very curious to see how they were going to do it. The crash figures have turned out overall pretty good, but have somewhat stagnated and maybe even dropped off on the quality level as they've continued. So this kind of thing is very interesting to me, and I'm happy to tell you they did a lot of things really well. Very impressive, in fact. And then some things, well, there's a little bit to be desired there. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands to the top of his head, only about 4.5 inches to the top of the horns, closer to 6.5, and overall length of the tail curled a little bit. He's about 7 inches long, and you could probably make it a little bit longer. Oh boy, I can't make any of those jokes if you straighten out the tail. And so that's, it's substantial. It's substantial. I don't think this scale really matters all that much because it's not like you're gonna be completely concerned with how he scales with, like, let's say a Predator or something, because it's SPYRO. It's not exactly like you could do that. But this guy is pretty good looking overall. There's lots of shading throughout. Unfortunately, one of those spots is a problem. Well, first of all, let's start with this. I think the purple's too dark, and I think that's a factory issue because even on their paint master back here, he's got that lighter reddish pinkish purple going on. And you can see on the actual figure, it's a blue purple. Do you see the difference? I hope you see the difference. And here's the actual asset. You can see he's much pinker, a lot more red in the purple as opposed to the blue. Now this picture, you could argue he's completely red hued because of the background, but this one's not. So he's definitely a little bit too blue as far as I'm concerned. I don't personally care because I'm not personally attached to SPYRO, so it's good enough, but that's definitely something that stands out if you know about SPYRO. And since I don't know it and I noticed him, I'm guessing you big time SPYRO fans are gonna be bummed out about that. Now let's go through the individual details. We have basically washes and shading almost everywhere. There's no wash on the main skin, but there is shading throughout. I assume they did that because they didn't want him to look very gritty, because he's not supposed to. He's supposed to be fairly cartoonish. So the texture there is just for like that added little detail, not to make him look like a realistic dragon model. Okay, because dragons are a real thing anyway. But all the little like pads around here are painted. That's nice. The spikes going down his back are painted. We have an orange wash going on for the tail here. We have a brownish black wash going on for his underbelly and neck. And then we do have shading going on in the legs from dark purple to lighter purple. It's very subtle. It may not even show up, but it's there. Oh, I think you can see it. It's particularly obvious right here. Unfortunately, it looks like the plastic they used, and I'm guessing it's the plastic that's the darker purple and slightly shiny, and then the shading, which is actually a highlight, which is more matte finished. It could be the other way around, but you do see some transition. You can see the darker purple there. It looks nice, but it does shine just a bit, so that's kind of a bummer. But then we have the face, which is done really, really well. Let's look at the eyes, because the eyes are a big deal on this type of character, and they nailed them. They're not glossy, which I think would have been a really nice touch, but they still look really, really good. I like that a whole bunch. And then they did some really nice shading on his mohawk. Very, very clean. Very well executed. The placement's awesome. Same thing for the wings. Excellent. Very nicely done. The horns match the chest, so that's good. But here's the thing. There's some shading going on in the neck here that doesn't transition well. It's not super duper obvious, but it makes the head look like it's the wrong color because it doesn't quite match the neck. But really it's just the neck doesn't match anything. For whatever reason, right here and right here we have this almost muted, almost grayish pinkish color going on. And it's not terrible, and it might not be on all of them, but it's definitely a bummer. And it makes it even more obvious. You can see we have the dark purple shading going all the way down the center. And it looks good everywhere except for right here because we have that weird pink transition. So it kind of breaks up the head from the neck and the neck from everything else, and then the neck itself. So it's very strange that that happened. I'm hoping that's not a universal thing, because otherwise the figure is really exceptionally good looking. Even with the few issues with like the different finishes for the glossy-ish colors and not. Very nicely done, but this right here just really throws it off. That bums me out. But otherwise it's exceptionally well done, so I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Very, very nicely done. This guy could have easily been a 9 without that one issue. but it's exceptionally well painted. The wings, you don't see accurate shading like that very often. I mean, you can see a very distinct clean line from the yellow, even on the little ribs, from the yellow to the orange, and then the orange fading back to yellow. Exceptional. Very pleased with that. No accessories, so that's a 0 out of 10. And then for the articulation, it's just basically ball pegs and double ball pegs everywhere, and I'll show you how the functionality works for them. We'll start with the head. It's awesome. It's really good. You can lean it that way, you can lean it that way, really good range, of course full rotation. You can lean it up that much, it goes down that much, really, really good. If NECA's done anything over the last 2 to 3 years, it's that they've really, really nailed neck joints with double ball pegs, which is one of the reasons, I mean, it's not one of the reasons, it's a perfect example of why I always advocate for that type of articulation. It's just perfectly usable. It's great. Perfect example right there. The neck is also articulated. Doesn't have a ton of range other than rotation, partly due to this chest piece here, but you can definitely rotate it. It does lean some, but it's relatively stiff. You can see it's off to the side just a little bit. You don't get a whole ton of range out of it, but it's there, so I'll give him some credit there. That's nice. And it's fairly well hidden with the way the neck is done, so that's good. The arms are on ball pegs, as far as I can tell, and they go out a little bit. And of course you can rotate them around and you can lean them different ways. Not a ton of range. This, this is why I said it was kind of interesting, because this isn't your regular action figure that's going to be in all kinds of crazy poses. So realistically, they could have gotten away with even less, but I think they found a happy medium. Little ball peg for the wrist, which offers almost no range. It's essentially just going to allow you to get him to stand with all 4 feet flat on the table, so that's okay. For the abdomen, it rotates, of course. It does lean side to side a little bit and up and down a little bit. But again, it's just there to help you pose him a little bit. He's mostly going to look the same on everybody's shelf. That's unfortunately the nature of the beast. No pun intended. Back hips are the same as the shoulders, or forehip, whatever. It's a quadruped. I don't know what the words are. But it works. I mean, you can basically move him around just enough to get him in a decent standing pose and you'll be okay. And then the feet are the same thing as the hands, if you want to call them that. A little bit of range on a ball peg, not much. Tail has actually pretty good range, good segmentation, good articulation there, so you can get pretty good curvature out of that. I like it. You can straighten it out, bend it however you want, and it works nicely. I like it. So articulation on this guy, given that it's a dragon, a little stumpy dragon, in fact, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I think they did a pretty good job, especially with the neck and the tail. The rest is all kind of icing on the cake. I didn't mention the wings because I forgot. They have a hinge, and they also rotate, which is fine. Not impressive. Doesn't change the rating, but they did a good job. I mean, it's nothing special because there's nothing to do that's special there, but they work. So very nice overall figure. Really, the biggest issue is that neck. Everything else I can live with. It's a really, really nice release. I'm sure SPYRO fans are psyched. Even if this is an issue all the way around, I'm pretty sure people are going to live with it, but it's still a bummer. But I like it. So I'm going to give it an overall rating of, I'm going to say 8 out of 10. I think for what it is, NECA did a really good job. And the issue of him being too purple, and then the issue of him being a uniform is what I'm going to say. Those are definitely problems, but hopefully those are factory issues and not like design issues. Like NECA didn't tell them to do that. I kind of doubt they did. So maybe those will get rectified in a future release. Who knows? Or maybe it's just mine, and that would be even better. That wouldn't be surprising at all. I have that kind of luck. So I do like it. I think it's pretty good. So I think you guys are going to like it, and we'll call it there. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have new videos out just about every single day and thousands of other reviews on the channel for you to check out. So make sure you do that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.